What's up, everybody? How y'all day going? I hope it was a productive one, whatever that may be. Can I sit and talk to y'all for a minute? Just shooting the breeze, man. Just uh, letting you know my thoughts, and if you just bear with me, because I might be all over the place. Matter of fact, I know I'm gonna be all over the place, not might be. Um, so if you could just stick around with me just to hear me talk, I greatly appreciate it because you lending me your eyes and your ears helps me to continue to keep growing my channel. Um, so let's just kick this off. Um, the people in 2025 and beyond, or should I say, back when the whole little C thing started, man. Um, I really truly believe that the identity has become lost with society, and it isn't because of what I'm saying entirely. It's the world in general. You know, um, things have shifted in such a way to where not too many people's relatable anymore, man. And the world that we live in is just full of fakery, and you know, it's hard for you to trust people because of how the world is shifting, man. Like the world isn't the same, and I know that the world is always changing and evolving, right? But that doesn't mean I have to change with it. Um, and what I mean by that is that I find myself harking back into the late '80s and early '90s when I was growing up, you know. And the thing was is that it was a great feeling in times. If you were back in them times like I have, you know exactly what I mean. Things were just very different, man. It wasn't in my eyes, for what I've seen back when I was growing up, it wasn't so much division. It was more closeness. It was more people just going out and just enjoying each other, man. If it wasn't from the being in the neighborhoods to the highs to the schools and to the colleges, it was all fun, man. It was real for fun. And people had connection with just meeting up with each other. It wasn't it wasn't as such an alarming rate like it is in 2025, where you had these devices just to go off of. You literally had to get out there and go mingle with people. I'm talking about get out there and go socialize. And I believe in 2025 it's like that to a degree, but it isn't like it was back in the 80's and 90's. I mean, you really didn't have no other choice but to connect that way. If you didn't connect that way, you had a house phone. A house phone where you can call somebody and be on the phone for hours, talking to that person and talk about what y'all did that day or what y'all plan on doing for the weekend, because obviously school was in. You know, um, just doing a lot of that. Basically, if you was a woman, you talk about chasing the boys, and if you was a man, if you was a young boy, you was talking about chasing the girls. It was just a lot of that. You know, if you was basically sneaking into movies, doing things that little devious children do. Um, we just did a lot of that, but it was fun. You know, it seemed like that no kid can get caught. For whatever they did. They did it just because they were kids, but they were free spirited to do whatever. They didn't take life too serious. Things was just how life's supposed to be. With just really having a sense of just being free, just to do whatever you want to do. And just enjoy each other, man. And I remember a time where, you would go kick it with a person, and you would go home and have a long day of playing, right? And you'll be happy to go home because you played yourself out, right? But you'll be looking forward to the next day to go do some other stuff, because it seemed like it was every day. It was always something different. It wasn't the same thing. It was always something different. because we are creative beings, and kids were, being very creative, just making things happen, man. Being so free spirited. And I remember uh, such a times that kids, my friends and other people, they were doing those things, and me as well. I was basically creating, you know, my own mind of things to do, right? It was never a dull moment. It was always fun, you know. And sorry about that. It was always fun, and like I said, it was always things to do, and we always had fun, man. It was just really one of those things where, you know, if you had problems with your friend of yours or anybody else for that matter, you have the adults to straighten it out, and before you know it, you'd be back playing again, right? It was just no responsibility. It was all being free and having fun and just doing whatever you wanted to do, right? Only within the confines of what your parents said. Like, you didn't go outside of that. But other than that, once your mom or dad give you the leeway to go outside to go play, it's open season. It's open season. And even back in them times, you were either the dopest kid who had the tightest bike or the tightest skateboard or the tightest basketball or football. You got looked up to as one of those one of the cool kids, and you know, it was just a lot of that going on, man. And even in the neighborhood, and I've said this, I think, some videos back about how things was in the neighborhood. Like, it was very, very fun, man, because everybody looked after you, you know. Um, but it was always about protection, and I remember there's times where back in the day when I was young, I used to go to the arcade a lot. It's an arcade called the Underground, where you would go, and I think I mentioned this before. You would go um, to the Underground, and as long as you got some money in your pocket, and money was, you have like $20 in your pocket, man. Back in the day, you had fun all day because stuff was cheap. Stuff was a quarter back then. You know what I'm saying? Whether you buying a bag of chips, whether you buying some Nihilators, which Nihilators at the time was 15 cent. Um, but you did things like that. Honey buns was 50 cent. Um, penny candy was a penny. Yeah, you did things like that. But back to what I was saying with the Underground. Um, yeah, I mean, we went. My mom had gave me some money, to go to the Underground, and we get in there. It'd be me and my brothers and some of my friends, and we would literally be in the library. I mean, be in the Underground. So as we get in there, man, we'd be in there like 5-6 hours, and didn't even realize that that it got late. And back in them days, it wasn't no cell phones, and if it was a cell phone, it was only one dude who had money who had a cell phone, and the cell phone was was a big bulky cell phone, man. You know, one of those big bulky cell phones where you call in, you call in the numbers, and it'd be like the little black, it'd be like the numbers. It was like square like this. I mean, like rectangle like this, and you dial it, and it'd be like red numbers and stuff like that. It was crazy, man. But you knew you had it when you had them kind of phones, and but you didn't have a phone. You literally had when you went out, and you had to be responsible enough to get back at a certain time. If you didn't, you got your ass whooped. You know what I'm saying? Because you knew for a fact that you had to be mindful of the time, even if you had to ask somebody what time is it. Or if they had a clock somewhere, like one of those analog clocks that was hanging on the wall, like somewhere where you look at the analog clock and knew that when it got around like 4 something, like 4 o'clock, 4:05, 4:15, you got to start heading your ass home. And if you don't head home, you finna get a whooping, a bad one. So yeah, man, that's the only thing you really had to do was just be responsible. Everything else was open season. I mean, you did just literally about whatever you wanted to do. You know, there was no restrictions. And yeah, I remember them times, man. Times was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And we had the cassette tapes. You know, later on, we ended up graduating to the CD player. But we had the cassette tapes, man. It was cassette tapes, the Walkman. With the wired headphones with the little cushion on the end. Man, there was some fun times, man. I mean, actually uh, having milk crates and cutting out the little bottom parts and making it like artificial uh, basketball court. You had to put some. Well, actually, no, you had like one of those. Yeah, you hang it up. You used to hang the crate up on a telephone pole. Because they had telephone poles back then for the actual landline phones. It'd be a big old brown pole, and you find a way to get two nails, and you would hit one up in here and hit one there, and then that'd be an artificial basketball court, man. And we did that. We did that, but it was creative, man, to make sure we had something to do. And then when the summertime come, that we would, it would be somebody who have like that big old wrench about this big, like a big wrench about that big, right? Where they have to go to one of those fire extinguishers, which I tripped out about that. I don't even see no fire extinguishers around no more. I'm quite sure there is some, but where I live at and other places that I've been to, I ain't seen no fire extinguisher out nowhere. But anyway, yeah, when summertime came, we had to unscrew that I forget what they call it on a fire extinguisher. You had to unscrew it, and let the water just shoot out. And sometimes there'd be somebody back there, and they took their hand like this, and they just do like this to make sure that it'd go up in the air, and the cars be driving by. They had, we wasn't obviously we couldn't cut it off because once we let it loose, somebody had to be strong enough to come close it, or we had to call the fire department to come close it back for us. But that was our way of getting wet, because everybody wasn't fortunate enough to have a hose in at their house and stuff like that. So we had to go to the fire extinguisher, and so we did that. We literally did that, and we was out there for hours, man. I'm talking about getting wet in clothes. We didn't have to put no specific piece of clothing on, and if we did, your mama got it for you, and you didn't know about it. But yeah, we just got out there and got wet in our clothes, man, because it'd be hot in the days, and we just got wet. But we had so much fun, man. It was really, really, really it was enjoyable, man. Really, really, really good times, man. And again, when we did those things, once again, free spirited, man. Just not having no responsibilities, just doing what you wanted to do, just living life. You know what I'm saying? Living life like you're supposed to live it. You know what I'm saying? And everybody just having fun, like getting wet with the fire extinguisher was the thing to do. Everybody came outside. There wasn't nobody obviously besides your mama, she was cooking. Your dad was cooking in the household. You know what I mean? It was all the kids that was outside, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about from the smallest child, man. Child like what, 2 or 3, to the teenagers, man. Out there having fun, man. And even sometimes the adults are joining in, man. Just depending on who wanted to get in at that time, man. But it was fun. And when the people drove by, like I said before, when they had obviously they have to go through that street. It's either you can't avoid the fire extinguisher. You had to get your car wet. You know what I'm saying? And most people didn't have a problem. Some people did, but most people didn't have a problem with that. They really actually was out there not really out there, but they was passing by, and sometimes they honked their horns, and they let their car take a little artificial car wash. It was funny, man. It was real funny that stuff like that happened, man. But it was all fun though. We just really enjoyed each other, man. Like we come in the house, we all dirty from being outside playing in the dirt, or getting if they had sand somewhere, it'd be all thrown on our body, on our clothes, because obviously the water made it stick to our clothes. Or sometimes the sand being our damn hair, and we had good times like that. You know what I'm saying? It was just real good times. Also another thing too, back in the day, man, when we was kids, man, it was a luxury to go to the beach. You know what I'm saying? If your mom took you, if she was a single mom, your dad took you, if he was a single dad, or if your parents was together, they took you to the beach. That was a blessing, man, because you really had all that sand to just run around in. You know, the only thing your parents didn't have to make sure is that you didn't get wingworms. You know, from having sand on you, because obviously, uh, you know, uh, your body can be irritated and cause wingworms um, getting on you from just being, like I said, sand. And so, obviously, for people who never know what wingworms is, I mean, who don't know what wingworms is like a little, no, it ain't little. It's like about that big. Think about that big, and it looks like it's covered in sand. Like it's like kind of like circular, and it was like a little thing that was it was like itchy, real itchy from being in the sand. I think it was the size. No, it wasn't the size of a silver dollar. No, it was the size of what I said. You know, but yeah, you get a few wingworms on your body. You can't go out in the pool no more because obviously that you don't know where that water came from. I mean, obviously you do because it's in the ocean. But I'm saying as far as what has been mixed in the water and stuff like that, so as would cause wingworms, that and sand mixed together. But we had a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun, and man, I harken back to those times a lot in 2025, man. I wish I can go back because if I can go back, I would never come to this time frame. I would never be in this time frame. I'll be back in 2020. I mean, I'll be back in 1993, 92. I would be back in them times, man. And it was just wonderful, man. It was so wonderful, and I really enjoyed it, man, a lot. And again, like I mentioned in some of my other videos, that when your mom punished you and you can't go outside, that was like death. It was literally like death because you couldn't go out and go play no more. And just imagine you being hanging out the window looking, at your friends playing, and you can't do nothing. You gotta watch them play. That was torture, man. That was torture, but yeah, them times are just very, very wonderful, man. I would give all this shit up to go back in them times, man. I wouldn't mind using the house phone again because using a house phone really made you value the person that you had a relationship with friend wise, or whether you was with them, whether you was together with them for real. You spent, you ran the phone bill up on purpose just to spend time talking to that person, right? It wasn't no such thing as text messages. It was just straight up phone calls and talking. And so if you didn't have a conversation, you want to go get called. I mean, they weren't going to call you, but yeah, it was those times, man. And watching Saturday night cartoons, and when you get inside the house, you get ready to watch certain TV shows that you liked. Like Tales from the Dark Side was one of mine, and Monsters was one of my favorite TV shows. Obviously, Goosebumps. Goosebumps was another one of my favorite TV shows. And I forgot to mention too. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Those are some shows that I watched that I liked a lot. Wild and Crazy Kids, man. Wild and Crazy Kids. Nickelodeon and Nickelodeon Guts. Kids Incorporated. Just a lot of those things back in the days, man. It was so fun, man. It was really fun. You guys had to be there, man. If you guys wasn't in my era, you had to be there, man. And the times were just really fun, man. There's nothing but community. Really serious community. And if you fell out with a friend, you didn't fall out with a friend for too long. You always had somebody that could mend your broken friendship. Like somebody come in and they'll hear both sides, like why you not his friend, or why he's not your friend, or why she's not your friend, or why she's not your friend. Like it's always somebody that's a mediator in the middle that'll help y'all get back together. And then when y'all get back together and start playing, it's like y'all never fell off. I really miss them times, man. I really do. Like them times are gold to me. You know what I'm saying? And in today's world, we don't have any of that. And if we do, we have it in certain areas that you probably can't get to, right? For lack of money or whatever the case may be. But it's in small sections now. It's not everywhere like it used to be because I'm talking about community was everywhere, everywhere. You know, going to the YMCA was a thing. You know what I'm saying? You know, this place. I mean, although I didn't know how to swim, I mean, me and my brothers went to this place called Hayward Plunge. That was that was beautiful, man. We get up in there and swim for half the day. You know, we meet some. We actually going swimming. We actually met another set of friends. You know, swimming. You know what I'm saying? It was just so crazy how nostalgic things were. You know, to gain a level of people that really valued you and really care for you. You know, by connection physically, as opposed to you just getting on the phone like I'm doing now, just reaching out to a lot of folks because that's I mean we in these times, um, but when you went out to go do something for that particular day, you met somebody while you were out. That was I mean that was the best. It was the best, man. And I remember there was times where it was just me and my friends. We just walk the block. We just walk the streets. You know, block after block, man. Just having fun, but not being gone too far away from home, you know what I'm saying, where you can get lost because, you know, if you get lost, your parents are going to go crazy and start putting the APB out for you, calling the police to try to look for you, you know, because if you did, and if you were too far and they found out they got a hold of you and you got brought back home, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, you're going to get your ass tore up when you get home. I mean, tore up. You know what I'm saying? For those of you that have been back in my times, if you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't nothing pleasant back in them times. It felt like I was getting whoopings. And it seemed like me getting whooped for 2 or 3 minutes felt like damn near 10 or 20. It seemed like it took forever because every hit that my mom did by whooping my ass counted. And I felt every bit of that shit. Ooh, I did. I don't miss them days because I got lifelong scars behind it. But it kept me grounded, I'll tell you that much. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think we had that these days, man. I mean, yeah, it's not always the answer to whoop tail, right? But just in my time, we had that, man. You know, I believe that talking to youngsters today can work only if you be strategic in how you talk to them, and it just depends on that kid. If that kid wants to receive that information, if that kid doesn't want to receive that information, it won't ever happen. You know, because kids they full of themselves and they feel like that when they get a certain age, not an adult, right? They feel like they got to figure it out, and um, you know, they don't want to hear what an adult has to say because they feel like, well, you didn't live long enough, and why you up here telling me? And look how your life is. You didn't make nothing of yourself. It's crazy, man. It's crazy how these kids think these days. But you know, back in the day when I was I was around OGs and you know and older people that was around me, you know, I really valued what they had to say and didn't really give a damn. You know what I'm saying? What nobody else said because I knew that for a fact that the knowledge that they passed down to me was going to be beneficial to me in the long run, right? To keep me grounded as where I am today. You know, an adult. You know, not doing stupid, foolish things. You know that people usually do. You know what I'm saying? Those things stay up in my brain, stays here all the time, man. And I thank them for that. For really, 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 you know, really instilling those things in me because it wasn't always my mom. You know, it's the whole neighborhood that really gave me the knowledge that I got today. And for me, adapting and overcoming, you know, things that just things that's going on in life, period. Not just personally for me, what I'm going through, but just things in life. You know what I'm saying? The 80s and 90s gave me that feel, man. And I really wish that we had that kind of feel in 2025 because if we did, man, it wouldn't be so much chaos going on as it is now. I mean, it would be, but it'd be way less. It wouldn't be a lot of this bickering back and forth and going at each other's throats for meaningless ass things, you know, trying to be the better person than somebody else, which is the most stupidest shit I ever heard in my life. To be in competition with somebody to feel like that my job is to outdo you. Nah, you know, it's about each other, man. You know, And once you recognize that, you'll understand that this is how the world works. But people don't. They like I mentioned before in my videos that they go back into the individualism. They don't care about mingling with people, right? And the people who has taught these people that are experts because they don't care about mingling with folks. And I get it. I understand because in today's world, it's hard to get around people, man. Like you don't have that feel no more like back in the 80's and 90's, man. And I wish it was, because if it was, you wouldn't be so afraid or you wouldn't be so cautious of people, because for the simple fact that you can trust them to a degree with your life. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't have to always have your guard up and worry about that person out to unalive you. You know what I'm saying? It was for you and not against you. And if there was against you, right, they'll hash it out with the other adult, right? The other adult, they'll go in a private room or something, have a discussion, right? And then when they come out of the room, they back to, back to what it was. You know what I'm saying? That's what we need in 2025 and beyond. We need that feel from back in the day, because I really truly believe that people will really value each other if they had that. But because they don't have it, they don't care. It doesn't bother them. You know what I'm saying? And so I appreciate y'all. If y'all stuck around this long in the video, I appreciate y'all for sticking around and listening to what I had to say. I thought about this for a while, and I wanted to come on here and make a video because I haven't made a video in a couple of days. And I wanted to share my thoughts with you guys. And once again, I appreciate you guys stopping by. If you guys stay here for the whole video, you know what I'm saying? And with that being said, you guys take it easy and have a continuous productive day. And I'll see you guys on the next one.